We're live, Joe.
Oh, wonderful. We are live right here on the Believe in Monsters podcast. Welcome in another week talking Chicago Bears with your three favorite hosts, Chris Krogman, Lucas Berry, and Joe Gaither. We're all hanging out with you guys on the Believe in Monsters podcast. You guys can follow us at BIM_pod. Follow us at Shy Bears 1985 and follow us at LBerry_40. I'm at Joe Gaither 6, and we are bringing you another episode of Chicago Bears football. Finally, we made it. It's time. We're 12 days away from the Bears appearing on my television. We have 4 days, 3 days of camp to talk about. The pads are going on tomorrow. So welcome in. Oh my gosh, cannot wait. The Bears are finally here and real news to talk about. So we'll get into all of it tonight. Couple of free agent news, little stadium scuttlebutt, but mostly on offense and defense through the first couple of days in training camp. Welcome in to the Believe in Monsters podcast. Lucas Berry, how is your week? You pumped up 12 days away for Bears and Titans.
I was actually going to ask you how many days away works. I didn't even know. I'm just fired up. Their football back. Yeah, it's here. We got 12 days till that, and then 1 week till the next game, 1 week till the next game, and then the regular season's here, just like that. The Jets got to be playing sooner, right, Joe? I'm sure.
This Thursday.
Okay, so we got football this Thursday.
Hall of Fame game, Jets and Browns.
We have something this Thursday.
Speaking of Hall of Fame game, have you guys ever been to the NFL Hall of Fame or like Canton?
Oh, yeah.
What did you think of it? What did you think?
I loved it.
I thought the field was kind of like a dump, though. Like the actual field is like gross. It is just funny, though.
It's a high school field. I mean, it's terrible. But
exactly, yeah.
The experience is fantastic, especially since it's absolutely littered with Bears everything. And then what my absolute favorite part of it was, and it was actually surprising to me that it was the gift shop, and it was relatively inexpensive. I thought the gift shop there was going to be just outrageously priced, but everything there was fairly relatively priced to what you could get anywhere else, and they had a ton of shit. So I had a blast at the gift shop and like everything at the Hall of Fame. I have tons of pictures still.
Now I'm very curious, Chris. Did you go out specifically for that? Like, did you fly to Ohio specifically for that?
No, it was a work thing. I was working in whatever. Was Cleveland the biggest city there, close to there?
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Yeah. So we went to Cleveland. This is all in like one trip. So I went to Cleveland. We got done with work in a day, drove up to Canton the next day, spent multiple hours there, and then drove to Indianapolis that day to work in Indy the next day, and ate at St. Elmo's that night. So it was.
Oh, wow. So you got the whole football experience from the Hall of Fame to St. Elmo's where everyone gets the combine. That is dope.
Yeah, it was a good trip.
But yeah, I am ready to talk. I had a great weekend, did some traveling, did some hiking. How are you guys? How was your weekend? What is new?
Good. Weekend was solid. Had a few days off last week as the wife had a medical procedure, so stayed home with the boys. All is well. She's fine. So I'll just cut that off in advance. But yeah, hung out with the kids for 5 days. That was something.
Play some Madden?
They're not. It's hard to get them to understand everything all at the same time. So just to understand the concept of football plus like how to play a video game on top of that. So I got them playing video games. So they play Spider-Man. They play Guardians of the Galaxy. They play a Little Big Planet. They play a couple other things. Yeah, no, have not. I've tried to introduce them to Madden. Don't get me wrong, but just explaining what everything was hard enough.
See, I don't mean to sound like a boomer here because I'm obviously younger than you guys, but like, I mean, I started playing Madden 94 on Sega Genesis, and there was 3 buttons, and it was beautiful. You A, B, or C. You could have no idea about football, and you could play that game because there was 3 buttons. That was it, and a little pad.
Yeah. Now you
So,
can literally click.
You can do anything.
everything.
Madden.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can
Yeah, you
shovel
can
pass. You can hurdle.
do-
You can
Man,
dive. You can spin.
I have accidentally hit the pitch button and just fumbled like at least 5 times. Like what? Oh, what's happening? But
It's
Yeah,
too
no.
realistic.
for sure. I hope none of our players are accidentally hitting the
The lateral button.
the lateral button and dropping the ball. But yeah, it was a good weekend. The more I read about camp and stuff, like every year this happens. I'm like, I stay chill, and then news starts flowing in, and then blood gets pumping, and expectations are through the roof, and now we're 17-0 winning the Super Bowl. 18-0, whatever it is now. I still can't get used to this.
We're gonna dive into this, but I need to hear how Joe's doing first. But like, there's just so many reports from camp, and it really just depends where you're getting your news from. Like, one person could view it one way, and another person could view it completely different. And really, there's no right answer because it's practice, and really, we don't know anything. So it's like we're kind of just taking what's given to us, and we got to run with it. So we'll talk about it. But Joe, how you doing?
Oh, doing good. Having a great evening. Excited for the week as we're really getting rolling. Excuse me. High school football got started last week. NFL too. Yeah.
High school football.
Yeah, we got not games, but practice, fall camp. Their fall camp opens, and then and obviously Alabama college camps open on Thursday, so it's really here. I'm never heard of them either. So Georgia, the real college football champs, open on Thursday. So we're right here. I'm doing good. I'm excited for the new year to get rolling. And Chris, I'm not alone. You're not alone. I'm already thinking about my Super Bowl celebrations.
Joe, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but you got to tell us about your little adventure.
Well, I drove up to Chicago Wednesday night through Thursday morning, and I stayed there Thursday, Friday, and midday Saturday.
And you were supposed to give Believe in Monsters a beautiful report about how camp was going, maybe some footage and all this. And we were robbed, Joe. Why were we robbed?
Just different choices, making other choices.
Oh, I'm just messing with you.
I saw a couple of friends, and stayed out a little too late. I'm sorry. You said tried to get me in. He put me in contact with the Bears PR director, and I tried to use kind of my media credentials to get in, but I never got an email back. So I imagine they looked at my credentials and said, "No, this guy, he's a bum."
Joe,
so never made it.
I'm completely busting your chops.
Oh, I know.
Really funny because I heard Saturday, there was one report. It was just like they really milked the open practice, and it was like they stretched for the first hour of practice, and then they did like a red zone drill for like the last 45 minutes, and that was it. So like if you went that day, that's all you would have seen anyway. So I'm just completely busting your chops. But we're happy to have you back.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah,
They stretched.
They stretched.
We've seen stretching before, and everybody looks nice in. Look, we haven't even put on real pads yet. We're putting on pads tomorrow, guys. So
Tomorrow.
I
think they did uppers today. If I recall.
Okay. Yes,
correctly.
I think you're right.
But full pads and hitting tomorrow.
And so, what do we really make out of the first couple of weeks? Do we want to start with free agents and stadium, and then we'll get into camp? Yeah, we're getting ahead of ourselves. Okay.
Some of us are. But it's easy. It's easy to, Joe, because that's what we're here for. We're here to get all excited and jump ahead of ourselves because
absolutely
September can't be here soon enough.
We had news as we open camp. Our man Ryan Poles basically says we are still, going to look for more help, and we're going to be, the team is never done completely. If a deal makes sense, we'll make it happen. And so a lot of Bears fans saying, go out and get us a Yannick Ngakoue, go get us Justin Houston. We see Danielle Hunter goes off the board yesterday or this morning, the last 40 hours or so, to the Minnesota Vikings, 1 year, $20 million back to Minnesota. So, Luke, you're up on the defensive lineman for us. You're up on the free agency moves. Will we sign Justin Houston? Is it worth it? Will Yannick Ngakoue provide us anything on the edge? What do the Bears need to do to add more defensive line help?
So it is funny. The first day we opened up camp, we saw all these. What do you guys call those accounts that are like the one-off accounts that kind of like congregate a bunch of news and put them on their page, like MLF football and JPA or whatever. All them types of pages were basically tweeting out, "Oh, the Bears are interested in talks with Yannick Ngakoue and Justin Houston." I've even seen some Bears sources say that they were in talks with both of those guys. Nothing materialized. I honestly think the vets just don't want to go to training camp. All fine and good. I said this on Twitter earlier today. Regardless of if the Bears sign one of these guys, both of these guys, or none of these guys, the pass rush is still going to be very bad. And I'm just kind of prepared for that this season. Obviously, I think one of them guys would, help and probably be our best pass rusher, and I'm all for upgrading the team. But I will just kind of warn fans that I think even if we add one of them, the pass rush is still going to be bad. But we could always use the help on the D-line because it needs improved. Chris, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm gonna save my actual Bears related comment for the defensive segment, but I do have something on a current pass rusher for the Bears. The funny thing is we've been saying these same two names or multiple names for like 2 months, So like day one of training camp, and MLF football or NFL rumors just listens to us and just regurgitates what we say, or any other Bears podcast out there. We all know that we all been saying the same shit. CHGO, Hogan Johns, all these podcasts have been saying the same thing for months. Because everybody can see it, writings on the wall that they need a pass rusher or would benefit from investing in a veteran pass rusher. So, Joe, to your question, would it help? I mean, Justin Houston had 9 sacks by himself last year, and that was more than any pass rusher on the Bears, probably more than any defensive end combined or all the defensive end combined. So, it'll definitely help. And having the presence of a new veteran that knows how to get to the quarterback would not be a bad idea. Wouldn't be a bad get. Do we know what the holdup is, if any? No. I mean, could these guys want a little bit more money than Poles is willing to give? Could they want to go to a contender for their final seasons or two? Maybe. I mean, who knows? We'll see how it shakes out. Lucas could be onto something with they don't want to practice hard, which is funny. They should have signed already so that they could just go through the easy conditioning shit and then like take veteran days off like Jimmy Graham got once pads came on. But now pads are on and they're going to have to come in, and Darnell Wright's going to be hungry to knock somebody on their ass. And next thing you know, Justin Houston's eating dirt. I'm ready, guys. I'm ready. Let's go. Let's go.
I'm kind of at the point where, look, if these mother bleepers don't want to be here, if you want to, wait for camp to be over, I don't know. Yes, you've got talent in Houston and Ngakoue. You do, and they're, going to be coveted play. They'll be signed. They'll be on a roster here before too long. But I don't know. I'm kind of like, get on board, guys. Get on board. And Ryan Poles, he's just playing the game where, I don't want to overspend, but I'm ready to kind of just see what we got with the roster right now, and if these guys want to come in and make the team, and not just make the team, but start and contribute, all right, let's do it. But at this point, I'm not holding out hope that we're adding anything else.
So, Lucas, we've had this conversation about cap floor previously. So, I was just thinking like these guys would help them get to that cap floor, but then it made me think of like extensions and things like that. So, like, if you signed them now, that money would count against the cap all the way until like next March, where you couldn't just like sign free agents, or you couldn't use up your cap floor money that you might want to use on extensions. Am I right? Or am I overthinking that? So like if you just wanted to, like, instead of paying Justin Houston or Yannick Ngakoue market value or a fair market deal, you overpaid them to help get yourself to the cap floor. That might not be a good idea, because if you wanted to do an extension as well, you might not have the money to do so, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Bears still lead the league in cap space, so that's no shortage of that. But you are right in regards to the cap floor. I mean, I think they're about $15 million away is the last number I saw after the Komet extension, which will get into in a little bit. But yeah, any guy they sign immediately will go right toward that, and they could still use that for an extension or whatever. And then I know any leftover cap, could be rolled over year to year, so they don't really have to rush to spend the money or need to overpay if they feel they don't have to. At this point, I think we all agree the Bears kind of have a little bit of money to burn, but I think Ryan Poles has showed us that's not how he's going to operate, and it is what it is.
Wouldn't you rather
really
have your
is.
general manager operate that way, rather be careful than careless?
Yeah, I guess, Joe, and you really can't address every position, but like I said, I just think this pass rushing group is definitely bad, and I kind of just get the feeling that this year they're kind of just going to let it ride. Even like I said, even if they add Yannick or Justin Houston, they're still not going to be a top half of the league pass rushing group, even with one or both of them guys. But
yeah, for sure.
So yeah, there is, I guess, some positive out of there, Joe. The GM is disciplined and very.
What would you rather have? Let's ask. What would you rather have?
Well, we've seen both sides now. We've seen Ryan Pace, who gave guys extensions early and often, and overpaid free agents to come here, and it didn't work. So, we got to give the guy a shot. I feel like.
Would you rather have your general manager making moves and because I feel like a Jalen Johnson extension is gonna be on the horizon. Whether if he can have, if he can start have a good couple of weeks, I think that's on the horizon. Sorry. All that to say is I would rather see the general manager extend homegrown talent rather than bring in 1 or 2 year stopgaps.
Yeah.
Sorry, it took me a second to get that brain and get that thought out. Sorry.
I don't know if they're mutually exclusive in this
in
this specific scenario, only because I that's kind of why I was saying to you, like if we're gonna get Ngakoue or Houston, I don't know what they got paid last year for a reasonable salary. I don't have any problem with that. I don't think it's a 1 or 2 year stopgap in that scenario. I think it's just a piece of the puzzle, and you can still do the JJ extension or Mooney or Claypool or whatever you want to do. Just throwing out guys that are coming up on contract. But yeah, I'm not like, don't pay Justin Houston for 4 years, $50 million or anything like that. Dude, that's dumb. Don't do that. But
all right, according to Spotrac, and this makes me kind of reconsider my position a little bit. Spotrac had Justin Houston making $3.5 million last year, and Yannick Ngakoue at 3.4.
Sign them both.
Yeah. I'm reconsidering my position with that information.
I think the big thing with Yannick though is he is younger, so I think he's 27 or 28, so he's probably looking for a multi-year contract, and he's been on these 1 year deals, kind of his whole career after his rookie deal. So he's probably trying to secure a more lucrative deal there. And then Justin Houston is obviously, I don't know what he is, like 34, 35, 36, something like that. You're not going to give more than a 1 year deal to him. I really do. That's why I say I think that comes down to rest. I think he would have signed by now. He knows better. He's a savvy vet. He's been around the league a lot. And like Chris said earlier, maybe the guy just wants to win a Super Bowl or whatever. So we don't know.
Doesn't he have one?
I think so.
Didn't he win one with Kansas City?
Ngakoue? No.
Houston.
Justin Houston. Yes.
Anyway,
I think so.
I think so too. It trips me out with Ngakoue why he has never gotten
he's literally
a 3 year deal
because he's unplayable versus the run. He's that bad. And again, that goes back to philosophy and strategy and the whole 9 yards there, because we know Eberflus has always liked guys who stop the run better on the edge than actual pass rushers. So it's like, who knows?
Still doesn't make sense.
Quick pointer on Yannick Ngakoue, as I'm just kind of doing a little Google search. Actual high school teammates at Friendship College Academy with Eddie Goldman.
Who's
just
retiring again.
Quick little trivia for you guys. Maybe Eddie Goldman tells him, "Hey, go play for the Bears," or maybe he tells him, "Don't."
Maybe he tells him go play with the Falcons.
Let's move on from these free agents, though, Joe. What else did you have for us in the news dump today?
News
around the
dump.
NFL.
The quick hitter is apparently there's some scuttlebutt around the city of Chicago and the Chicago Bears revisiting an in-the-city solution to their stadium dilemma or discussion. Not much news is known about that. The reporting and the kind of, news that have come out as both sides met, it was all chummy, but no real, okay, here's what's going to happen. So, with Arlington Heights being kind of on the question mark maybe, and the residents not so happy because what's it going to do to the tax bracket over there at Arlington Heights, you got some trepidation with the Bears management, and then Kevin Warren obviously trying to make the best decision for the Bears that sees them with a modern stadium and sees them with some ownership, I would imagine, ownership of the facility. So with all that kind of scuttlebutt, we don't really know what's going to happen still at the stadium, but just 30 seconds for, on where we'd like to see the Bears move or what we'd like to see the Bears do. And kind of, Luke, we're all out of towners if everybody has listened to us. So we're not living it every single day, but we all love what the Bears are going to do. We want it to work out well for them. Luke, what do you think about the sides revisiting a Chicago in-city solution?
Well, I think there is some real cause for concern here for the Arlington Heights Truthers. I know we've made some progress with them kind of demolishing the site and the I don't really know the legal aspect of it, but like the purchase of land and that kind of stuff got Bears fans all excited for this state-of-the-art almost little village they're going to build for the Bears. But supposedly the taxes there are going to be way too out of control. I've seen some people crunch the numbers for it, and they are ridiculous. So I do think the Bears are really kind of playing their hand to keep all options open. Joe, you mentioned as out of towners, I love Soldier Field. I love the location on the lake. I'm already traveling, so I don't mind getting to the stadium, but I know many local people kind of complain about it. Overall, I would love for the Bears to stay in Chicago, and I'm going to let kind of Chris take this away. We kind of discussed this earlier. He brought up a good point about, attracting people to a destination where they want to be. And it's more about, that and the money you can generate than the fans themselves. But personally, I would like to see the Bears stay in Chicago and along the lakefront if they could still build a state-of-the-art stadium. But I don't want them to stay there at the expense of said stadium. Chris, how do you feel about this? I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, kind of our pregame or our text chat is I just want what's best for the team. If that means that it's in Chicago and it's a new stadium in the Chicagoland area rather than probably not revamping Soldier Field, I just don't think that that's probably an option anymore. I just want what's best for the Bears. Is it bring in free agents? Does it keep free agents here, keep people from leaving? Does it raise the valuation of the team? Do players enjoy going to work every day? That's really all I care about. We're all out of towners, as Joe mentioned, so I don't really care what's best for the fans, honestly, because I just want what's best for my team. I'm going to see 98% of games out of that area of the country, and I don't really care. So location isn't a big factor for me. The outcome or what is going to be best for the team is all that really matters for me. So that's my point on it. Couple things like that I've seen. The Bears blog is pretty in tune with things around that the team in the stadium, and he had a couple of cool tweets about it, and I'm trying to find them, but I'm having a hell of a time. Here we go. So he was saying that the other owners are fundamentally against us Soldier Field renewal. They want the Bears to have their own building, and more importantly, they want the valuation that would accompany the property, which does multiple things for everybody. For the NFL in general, they are going to reap the rewards of any extra events that take place at that stadium, along with bringing Super Bowl and all the revenue that comes with that. You're not going to have a Super Bowl at Soldier Field. There's just no way in hell. And then the other thing he said that I thought was interesting, the move to the suburbs is far more a certainty before the change at team president. So like Ted Phillips was pushing pretty hard for a move out to the suburbs, where Kevin Warren seems to be more level-headed about it and willing to at least look at every option, and that the tax issues, as Lucas mentioned, in Harlington Heights is a real and potentially insurmountable. The residents seriously don't want this. And Mayor Johnson may have convinced Kevin Warren a city answer is possible. So I don't know where in the city they could put it. I don't know Chicago geography well enough to say like, hey, yeah, there's real estate, right downtown. But maybe there is. I have no idea. Joe, you're the real estate expert. Do you know anything?
It's not a ton of spots to put it in. I get. Look, you could potentially. You could potentially knock down Soldier Field and rebuild right there. But do all the things that the Bears want to do, which is building hotels and building, a casino and building, eateries and basically making it a Bears village. Not enough space. Not enough space. It's already tight as hell right down there on the coastline. So no, I don't know a better place to put it. It's just going to be – I still think that Arlington Heights is probably going to be the move because I think it's going to be the most feasible land-wise. But if they can keep them in Chicago, that would be fun for me. I love being up there, and I love just the feeling of having it right there in the city. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. You fly in right over the stadium and you come in too.
Parking be damned. I'll deal with parking. Just give me public transit right to the stadium, and I'll be A-okay.
Yeah, man. When you take the closest train to the stadium, you still gotta walk a mile. That's no fun. No fun.
So let's talk about some camp. We actually opened up and played some practice and took some snaps. Justin Fields threw some balls. It was great. 4 days. What you had? Friday, Saturday, Sunday up there at Howes Hall, no longer at Bourbonnais. But, we had some interesting – depends on who you like to follow. Don't follow some of the curmudgeons like Dan Wiederer. Talk about how bad – you're not going to know. You don't know what it's going to be in 3 days. I think I don't know if we were saying it before we went on air or if it was right at the beginning. Like, these guys are not in pads. There's you cannot measure a physicality factor. You can obviously see wide receivers making good cuts and, running clean routes, that sort of thing. And quarterbacks throwing and delivering good balls. Yes, for sure. But dude, you are not going to know that edge rusher really tore it up. Oh, the linebacker really just bringing the wood. Oh, the offensive guard is opening up the hole. You don't know. You don't know. It's really just kind of getting a feel for it and getting everybody's legs underneath them right now. So with all that said, Lucas Berry, what's your biggest takeaway from the offensive side of the football before I have 3 specific points I want to get into? We'll let everybody get into the other points as well.
Yeah, so one of my biggest things, this is, I guess, clearly obvious at this point. We can talk about whether Justin Fields has a good day, a bad day, depends how you interpret a day, whatever. The fact that Justin Fields has been peppering DJ Moore with targets every single day of camp so far is a sight to be held. The Bears finally have a wide receiver one. It's been so long, probably since Brandon Marshall, since we've had a true one. And I'm sure DJ Moore is relieved to have a quarterback like Fields after dealing with whatever he dealt with in Carolina. So I think out of, one of the main things you can take away without pads on is, I guess, chemistry between guys. And it sure seems like Fields and Moore kind of developed an early and often chemistry. They even had a sweet interview. If you haven't heard it, you should check it out. But that is my main takeaway. I'm sorry if I took anyone else. It's quite obvious, but it's been nothing but positive news between those two so far. Chris, what do you got?
Justin Fields is no longer a vegetarian. He eats fish now.
Oh,
That's if
yummy.
you didn't listen to that interview with Kyle Brandt and DJ Moore, it is fun. And Justin Fields, obviously. He said he was tired of going to steakhouses and like not being able to like eat stuff. He was having a hard time like just finding something to eat. So he now eats fish. So that's good.
Fish at steakhouses is a very underrated dish, I do have to say.
Yeah.
No, I'm not doing that. Sorry, I like meat.
Fish is great.
Fish is not great. It's mid, as the kids are saying. No cap.
Listen, Chris, I agree. But like, if I go out on like a date to the steakhouse or something, and you know Katie doesn't want to eat a steak and she gets the fish, and I'll try it, I'll be like, wow, it's really good. Like a nice grilled salmon. Don't sleep on it.
Are you
Don't hibernate?
Are you ordering the salmon?
No, I'm just taking a bite of it.
Exactly.
You know how good it is.
When you spend your $70 on it, you tell me. You let me know, buddy. I'll take raw fish all day long. I love sushi.
What? Yeah, I love sushi. Love it.
It's not the same. It's not the same. You grill it, it starts to get weird. I don't know.
I won't eat that. Nope.
Oh, I explain that. Explain it. Why don't you like raw fish?
Grosses me out.
You're living up in like the New England area. You can get some great sushi.
It's not like sushi's a specialty.
No, it's all crab meat. All they do is
lobster. No, lobster.
Crabs and lobster. Whatever. So yeah, the other interesting fun fact about that the interview was, do you guys know what a glizzy is?
A hot dog.
Yeah, I did not know that. Did you know that before that interview?
Yeah, of course.
No, you didn't. You fucking liar.
I would say Joe Gaither's a glizzy gobbler.
I do like to have some hot dogs from time to time. Absolutely.
I had no clue what that was. Apparently I'm the old man, obviously, but either way. So DJ Moore and Justin Fields, best of friends already on and off the field. Looks like it's going to be a fun connection to watch grow and build this season. So I'm excited for that connection, and rest of the offense, rest of the room. Justin is obviously. Are you guys concerned with Justin getting tunnel vision at all?
No.
With DJ Moore? No. Okay.
Well, we'll play it out. Say he does get tunnel vision. Is DJ Moore not the kind of wide receiver that we traded for to say, you know what? If you're throwing it at DJ Moore, he's going to make that play. Mm-hmm. I mean, did Deshaun Watson not develop tunnel vision with DeAndre Hopkins over a course of time?
I have not seen enough DJ Moore to compare him to D-Hop.
I will say, Chris, to your point, I do agree that DJ Moore also hasn't, he's had back-to-back-to-back really good seasons, but he's never really kind of established himself as that elite wide receiver. He's always kind of been like a tier 2 right below the really elite guys.
Right.
We're hoping that this is the year that he can develop into that and be that guy that he's just like, fuck it, DJ Moore's down there somewhere. I'm throwing it.
But that's fine to a degree, but I do feel like having a DJ Moore opens up Darnell Mooney and Chase Claypool.
Absolutely.
And Kmet and Tunyon and all the other guys on the offense much better. But I just don't want Justin to not remember that those other guys are there just because they weren't winning routes and press and everything last year.
Right. But that was also going to be another point of what we're going to get into is I think every day I've heard of a new favorite target or a new wide receiver who kind of won the day. So even though Fields is often targeting more, I've heard Claypool today, for example, supposedly had a really good day. We heard Tyler Scott. We heard everyone. We heard a lot of the the depth receivers, ESB catching touchdowns, everyone, Kmet, Tunyon. I think the fact that Fields is spreading the ball around so much and that there's these positive reports of each of these receivers kind of having their own days is awesome news. And, definitely taking us out of the world of Dante Pettis and ESB and those guys being our wide receiver 1 from last year.
Yeah. Yeah. Even Velus Jones Jr. Jr. having a good.
He's supposedly been having a great camp. People are really been hyping him up and saying how great he's doing and catching punts and everything. So, and Chris, you could talk about that article. I still haven't gotten around to reading that, but is there anything you want to point out from The Athletic?
I think it was Kevin Fishbane that wrote an article about Velus Jones Jr. having some confidence issues, I guess, last year. He worked a lot with Carla Suber, the Bears mental health professional, which I guess every NFL team has a mental health professional, but she is the Bears, and she is an excellent person to have, has been called out by both GMs as being an integral part of the team. So when she was brought on during the Pace era, she was utilized to evaluate draft picks and things like that as well, like mental health or mental, I don't know what to call it, capabilities, stabilities. That sounds terrible, but I mean, it is what it is.
Mental health specialist.
Yeah, that's what she is. I mean, that's what she does. So she helped him work on his anxiety. And last year he was just really overthinking every single thing. And this year he's really been focusing on even through, I think they said like after week 4 is when he really started seeing the benefit of working with her. Maybe that's when he started working with her. And you saw it towards the end of last year when he started doing really well, building on a lot of those positives. So like I said in preseason, I'm excited, or a couple podcasts ago, I'm excited for Jones Jr. to not be the laughing stock draft pick. Everybody wants to nitpick people's careers before they even get going for being 25 and a third rounder, when everybody and their mom had a COVID year and more and is a little bit older already. So you saw it this year with a lot of draft picks. Most draft picks now are not 2021, they're 22, 23, 24. And yes, he's 25 or whatever, 26. But so what? Receivers don't last that long in the NFL anyway.
I mean, overall, it's just been great to see, each wide receiver kind of winning a day is what we've seen. Overall, Justin Fields, I've seen kind of, I guess, more positive news than bad news. Obviously, people are going to say, oh, he can still work on X, Y, and Z, but sounds like he's hitting his checkdowns. He's going through his progressions more, throwing to a variety of receivers. And like we said, it's just so hard to judge just off like 7-on-7. We could say, oh, he's holding onto the ball for too long or whatever, but like you're not going to really scramble in 7-on-7 or whatever. Like the whole point of the drill is to throw the ball. And if guys aren't getting open, well, then you're just going to kind of throw it up into coverage or whatever. And, an interception might happen. Not really making excuses for Fields, but just like, it's so hard to judge from these types of practices on what's really going on. So just kind of picking things out and just going through what we think is important. I've heard some really positive news on Tyler Scott and how fast he is. Some people are throwing around Johnny Knox comparisons. I mean, that would be awesome if the Bears landed that kind of receiver. We still have Darnell Mooney kind of nursing an injury, being limited in practice. Claypool kind of getting back in the groove of things. So a lot going on. Overall, I think the reviews on the offense have been positive. Hard to kind of gather the running back room with no pads on at all, but supposedly Foreman and Herbert have been kind of leading the snaps there. Now, there was a funny story about Darnell Wright. Joe, do you want to go into that? I mean,
yeah, you guys have already hit my other two points, Tyler Scott and Justin Fields to DJ Moore. I love that. But Darnell Wright, he had a funny story, an interesting story. Obviously, they all come back to camp and they check in. They got to do some conditioning tests to make sure that they're not going to go out there and bust a hamstring or, do something terrible to themselves. Well, Darnell Wright passed his conditioning test with flying colors, and one of the reasons he did was because he said that when they first the team issues out, here's what the conditioning tests are going to be for all your positions, ABC, XYZ. Here's what you got to do. He read the wide receivers conditioning test and said, "Oh crap, I got to get really ready." He hires a personal trainer, and loses 16 pounds getting ready for the wide receivers test. And I guess at some point he realized that he was reading the wrong test. He still passes the offensive lineman's test, but he's in tremendous shape. And
he passed the wide receivers test.
Yeah, honestly, it's like, what more could you want from your first round guy? What more could you want than a guy that says, "Okay, I'm going to make a dumb decision, but it's really going to be beneficial to me and the Bears." I thought it was awesome. I thought it was great. You look at, to me, you guys, we're all talking wide receivers and we're all talking Justin Fields development. but it all comes down to the offensive line. If the offensive line gives you league average, gives you 10 to 16 production, I mean, great if you give me higher than 10. But if you give me 10 to 16, oh my gosh, I think that everything we've been talking about can really turn into fruition. And you know what? If Darnell Wright is out there but losing 16 pounds and coming with the nasty, I heard Ryan Poles talking on WGN saying that he was a prick, and all offensive linemen need to have that element to them. So I'm excited about this offensive line. I know that you've had some retooling. Cody Whitehair moving to center. He talked today to the media, talked about being excited for pads tomorrow. That's the biggest area of the offense that needs to improve. If it does improve, then I think that everything else falls right in line. Justin Fields is a lot more comfortable. He's dealing the football, he's dealing the football with more confidence. The running game's working better. The play action passing game he's able to do whatever he's able to get in his bag a little bit more. It all starts at the offensive line.
Wasn't it Darnell Wright that had that exchange with that like some blogger in his DMs on Twitter talking shit back and forth? That's our guy. I love it. Yeah, I'm excited for Darnell Wright this year, and you're right, Joe. It does all start up front, but I want to tie a couple things back together for what Lucas was talking about with the wide receivers in two ways. Number one, Chase Claypool. Obviously, I'm a Golden Domer fan, so I'm always going to root for those guys. And Komet, Claypool, Komet, ESB, Claypool, right? We're just building Golden Dome, West-ish. Anyway, and Claypool is taking a ton of shit. Everybody is pissed about the trade because it was essentially 32 overall for Chase Claypool. Hindsight's 2020. Nobody knew that at the time that was going to happen. But, and he understands the same amount of pressure, the amount of pressure that's on him. He understands what fans have been saying. He said as much early in camp that this is the biggest year of his career. He understands that there's been a lot of question about his work ethic by fans and some media, I guess, but there has never been any of that from any teammate. None of his teammates have come out and said anything shitty about him. They've all said positive things about his work ethic, to the point where he worked his ass off to really learn the playbook. He repeated all the plays into a recorder and then listened to him on his AirPods, ran routes, and then tested himself. He made cue cards, tested himself. So I think Chase Claypool is going to be ready for this season, and whether that's with getting an extension with the Bears or somewhere else, I think he's going to have a pretty solid season. And then to tie Tyler Scott into it, I think Pat the designer was doing an interview with Tyler Scott and said and asked him who he thought, with all of the recent alien discoveries or whatnot that the government's been leaking, who on his team did he think was an alien? And he said it was Chase Claypool. One, because he's like a physical freak, and two, because dude's just a little different, which I'm okay with.
I thought you were gonna say Gervon Dexter, but that's
not who he said. Tyler Scott's not gonna mention a defensive player. It's gonna be a guy in the wide receiver room. Yeah, that dude's a freak though too.
I am very excited for the Bears offense this year. Like I said, it's hard to gather anything from camp, but I would say overall the reports have been very positive. And something happened right at the start of training camp. I guess that kind of happened for a day, kind of a peak, and then nobody's talking about it anymore. But Cole Kmet got extended. He got I think
4-year $50.
4-year, $50 million extension, $8 million signing bonus, almost $33 million guaranteed. Paid him basically as a top 10 tight end in the NFL. How do you guys feel about this deal? Personally, I love it. I think the guy deserves the money. He does way more for his team than just catch passes and touchdowns. He blocks very well. He's a great teammate. He's a great guy to have around. And I feel like Ryan Poles kind of hinted at how much he liked Cole Kmet before, but Joe, I'm going to kick this over to you just because we know Chris is a Golden Domer, so I think he likes this. But Joe, you've been a little bit on Cole Kmet's case here on the podcast. I know you like to give him a hard time, but how do you feel about this extension? Do you like the money given out? What are your thoughts on this?
No, I love it. I think it's a very, very good move for the Bears because you look at how the money plays out over the lifetime of the contract. That's going to put him at like 8th, 9th paid tight end in the league. And a lot of people are comparing, oh, well, he doesn't do what Travis Kelce does. Okay, sure. But I think that, Luke, you hit it. He does a lot for this offense. Did he lead the team in receptions last year?
I think yards too.
Not a whole lot of heavy competition there, but no, I think the guy is the guy plays hard. You can tell that every time he's out there. He's an above average blocker. I think he's an above average pass catcher. Obviously, would you like more speed out of him? Sure, but you'd like more speed out of everybody. But I think Kmet's going to be a real big time weapon in this offense this year. And honestly, look, we've talked about DJ Moore being the one, and where's Claypool going to fit in? I think Kmet's going to sneak in there as that number 3 option behind either, rotating between Mooney and Claypool on a week-to-week basis. But when you get to the end of the 17 games, 24 games, 21 games, when you get to the end of the 21 games, you're going to see Cole Kmet as your third receiver, that's plus playoffs, Luke, with that funny look on your face. You're going to see him as your third receiver, and it's probably going to be Claypool or Mooney kind of sneaking in there as that too. But he's going to be vital. And the thing about Kmet is when he's out there, when Kelce's out there, he's out there to catch passes. Sure, he can block. But he's out there to catch passes. Kmet gives you – I think Kmet's value is the fact that you can do, pretty much anything with him, whether you're throwing or running. I think he's going to be a good red zone target this coming year. I think he's going to benefit a ton from DJ Moore. I'm excited about it, and the contract extension makes perfect sense. First drafted contract extension for the Bears quite a while, isn't it?
Who was the only player that Ryan Poles listed as a blue chip player?
Was it Cole Kmet?
It was Cole Kmet.
I don't remember. I remember
it was like randomly last year. So like when all of this extension stuff started, like it was like the end of last year. He said something about blue chip talent, and Cole Kmet was like the only name he mentioned, but like it was a weird question and answer section where he probably didn't have enough time to give more people, but Kmet came to the top of his mind very easily and very quickly. So I mean, this was pretty obvious going to happen. Yeah. And the money is probably right in line with value plus forward. Like I always talk about forward-looking contracts. What percentage of the cap is it now? What percentage of the cap is it going to be?
This is awesome. It's just deal for the Bears.
Super friendly. So yeah, it's fine. Money's fine.
People look at top 10 tight end and they take it too far because, like you said, Joe, they compare him to guys like Kelce or whatever. But it's you're not considering the value of he was literally your best lineman last year. He was the best blocker on the team, and Robert Tonyan might bite into his receiving totals this year, but that still doesn't take away from the value from the team overall that he provides on every snap, the chemistry he has with Fields, the leader he is in the locker room, et cetera, et cetera. So top 10 deal, it's not like he's even resetting the market. He's kind of just mid-tier in the market right now. And like Chris said, forward-looking contracts, in a few years, that contract's probably going to look very good compared to what some other guys get. I honestly thought he would get more. Super stoked to see him in Chicago longer. We are about 50 minutes into this podcast, so let's get a little bit into the defense. Like we said, no pads, so it's hard to take too much away, but I'm going to start with Chris. What is your kind of major takeaway from the defense so far in camp?
Major takeaways are that Tremaine Edmonds is humongous. TJ Edwards is solid. It sounds like Stevenson and Terrell Smith are battling it out on at cornerback. But I do want to touch on that pass rusher that I was talking about earlier. There was an article on Dominic Robinson where at the end of last year, as we know, he is a converted quarterback / wide receiver, has only been playing defensive end for like a year and a half, 2 years, something like that. And so he was advised to go work with a former NFL player, current NFL player, on his pass rushing repertoire and how to be a pass rusher. So he went out and worked with Robert Mathis, former Indianapolis Colt, had 123 NFL sacks in his career. So they worked on his pass rushing moves, setting players up. Robinson also gained 20 pounds, had done a lot of self-evaluation and noticed that he wasn't using his power as much, just tried to use that dip and rip kind of technique. And then he and Braxton Jones also worked together in the offseason to refine both their skills. And he said he wasn't giving Braxton Jones good enough looks last year, and Jones said he wasn't doing the same either. So looking forward to see what Robinson brings this year. As I mentioned somewhere along the last 3 months, that Robinson's probably got the best upside of the guys currently on the team between him and like Gibson for young pass rushers. But I've also heard Gervon Dexter is a freak. So that's my big takeaways.
So supposedly on the D line too, just while we're talking about this, DeMarcus Walker has made kind of a vocal impact on the defensive line. He kind of seems like the I wouldn't say the leader, but kind of like the guy that's trash talking, etc. on defense, getting the guys on defense fired up.
He's Akeem Hicks.
Yeah. So like a really high motor guy on defense, and maybe he like we talked about. Hopefully he is that. Maybe he turns into that signing that kind of develops here and flourishes. And then also, supposedly Justin Jones has been having a solid camp, which is great to hear. I know, Chris, you've always kind of liked him there. But, Joe, I'm going to go to you. What have you been hearing or thinking about the defense in camp here that you've been liking?
Well, I mean, I know a week or two ago when we talked about, we highlighted the 3 Alabama players just for a second on the team. And I thought, okay, obviously Eddie's going to be Eddie, but you're going to see Alex Leatherwood and Terrell Lewis both get cut. And through 3-4 days in practice, maybe that's not going to be the case. Terrell Lewis seems like he's out there playing hard, making some plays, getting some good pressure. Now, again, it's no pads. You don't really know. And I will go back to Terrell's Alabama game. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. That's kind of his big.
He had some good footage when he was on the Rams too, right? That's who he played for before. Yeah. I saw a few clips of him before. So
that's just the MO of his entire career is I'm going to show you flashes and then I'm going to disappear for a while. Then I'm going to show you flashes and disappear for a while. He did it at Alabama, battled injuries. I think he did it really with LA. And so if you get the consistency, then, I won't say our pass rush issue is solved. No way. But you're going to be a little better off.
It's awesome to add another guy to the room, too, who you're like, okay, maybe this guy can play for a few years or whatever, longer. I mean, Joe, going off that, do you think he can actually make the team with kind of the defensive end room looking the way it is, kind of bleak, maybe they sign a Yannick or Justin Houston or not? Do you think he can make the team as a rotational depth piece?
Yes, is the short answer. I think that you are. This week in practice in pads, really everything for Terrell Lewis for the next couple of weeks is going to be about how well are you adhering to hits, how well are you hustling all the time. I'm not going to sit here and say that Terrell Lewis isn't a hard worker, but I think that his motor has always been a bit questioned. And when his motor is on, you've had the high production. You've had he could be somebody. And you're seeing that a little bit. And now Terrell Lewis, I think he's hungry to prove himself, stay in the league, not get cut, not have to play, in the USFL or XFL next spring. But good gosh, if he just decides to do it, and I don't really know what it's going to be, what it's going to take. deep down, whether it's a mental health issue or whether it's a determination, a thought process issue. I'm not really sure, but yeah, you bring him in, you got good production, you got good looks already through 3 days of practice. I think really before I really fall in love with him all over again, he's going to have to do it on a consistent basis.
I hear you. Yeah, that's definitely a name that's popped up a few times. Like you said, no pads, but something to monitor when pads do come on. Starting tomorrow, Tuesday, I think tomorrow's August 1st. So my how time has flown. And I guess my big takeaway on the defensive side of the ball has been the cornerbacks. I think it's been fascinating. Supposedly, Kyler Gordon has looked very good. He's kind of embracing a new nickname as Spider-Man. We all know how he was he a gymnast or something like that before? He's super flexible. So the nickname makes sense. He's been playing exclusively in the corner, but he's had a lot of pass breakups and etc. in camp. He's looked very good. Like he's developing into the player we thought he could be when the Bears took him with their first pick last year. Ryan Poles' first draft pick. But, we have a cornerback battle between Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith. Both have been kind of taking reps with the ones, which I think is fascinating. I think Tyreek Stevenson kind of had his welcome to the NFL moment last week. It seemed like he was playing against DJ Moore a lot, and DJ Moore is getting his number a lot. And then supposedly today he started this week off very well. But Terrell Smith there, the Bears' mid-round pick this year, has been getting reps with the first team, which is fascinating. So they took 2 corners. And then there's Jalen Johnson on the other side, who has a big year up in front of him. And he's been – it's hard to tell who's been in on every rep, versus certain players when they score touchdowns or whatever, but he's been kind of in discussion with the media about how he needs to play better to kind of earn his next contract. So definitely you got to watch this year moving forward. I'm especially excited to see how the DBs play when the pads come on. But
JJ did say that he wants to get this done before, sooner rather than later. He doesn't want to play this year out and let it, get to the end of the season. While he could earn that Trayvon Diggs. Not sure if I did that right. Yeah, I'm getting all the anyway. So he already understands that he's not going to get that money. He doesn't have the All-Pro accolades. He doesn't have 17 interceptions in 3 years or whatever it is. So he understands he's not going to get that money, but he also wants to get the deal done before the end of training camp. So that would be my preference as well. I would love to see JJ get that deal.
Yeah, I just think I personally really like Jalen Johnson. I think he is kind of better than people give him credit for. Agreed. I do think that Matt Eberflus, though, does highly covet turnovers, and it's something Jalen Johnson has not done in his tenure here. So we'll see. I mean, like we said,
do you think it's as simple as that, Luke? Because I just have felt like ever since Eberflus has come in that Jalen's just not my guy. I don't really care for. There's something stylistically that I don't really care for him. Is it just the turnovers?
I do think that it is a big part of it, and it kind of has been a big thing immediately that. It kind of was like a big thing immediately last year that it seemed like Jalen Johnson was making some comments to the media that, didn't come off the right way with Eberflus and Poles. But as Chris alluded to, and as I just said, it seems like he's kind of owning up to being like, hey, I don't have enough turnovers. I don't have enough of the All-Pros to get this kind of money, but I would still like to get paid type of thing. So we'll see.
I think he also swallowed a lot of that pride last year and ego, and that they are much closer to being on the same page now.
Yeah,
not just with Poles contract wise, but also with Eberflus. And while he might not have those turnovers, he had alluded to, that could be a lot of the systems that he's been in and not having those same opportunities that he, doesn't get thrown at as much, doesn't get a lot of the tip passes that other people do. But yeah, you still gotta ball produce. But like he hasn't been in a turnover forcing defense, for a lot of the time he's been here. So, and I feel like his first year or two here, he didn't get thrown at a ton, which to me that speaks volumes in and of itself. If opposing quarterbacks or defense or offensive coordinators don't want to throw at you, they obviously feel that you are a threat. But there were times last year where he got burnt. But I also feel like he might have been playing through some shit. So, I don't know. I want two good corners. Plain and simple.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to the money. My big thing with Jalen Johnson is I've always liked him, and I've always thought he was better than people give him credit for. But I've never really thought he was like an alpha number one cornerback. I've always kind of thought him as like a 1B or a 2 cornerback on most teams. So I think it'll really just come down to the money. And like we said, Poles will never really overpay guys. So if Jalen does view himself as a cornerback one or a lockdown cornerback or whatever, then I don't know if they'll be able to agree to terms. But I definitely think, especially with him and Mooney, especially with Claypool on the team, to kind of bring this back full circle, that these guys are going to have to earn their money, and I don't think it'll come until the end of the year or mid-season, depending on how they're playing.
I love that, though. How long has this been since the Bears have had a roster really at any position group that's like, well, this guy's the obvious star, he's getting the extension, versus what you got right now in the wide receiver room. You're kind of set. I think it's great. Just the competition, Poles' approach. I'm excited. I love building through the draft. I love raising the stakes. Velus, your top pick, obviously third round last year. He's right there, got to fight for his job. I think everybody fighting for their job creates the competition and raises everybody's game. I'm really excited about where we are now, 18-ish months into Ryan Poles' career.
Yeah. Kind of we're into this podcast now to kind of take this thing back home. We've talked about a lot of topics. I just want to hear from you guys what you think or what you're most excited to see, when the pads come on, when the preseason starts. What are you guys looking for kind of throughout camp? What is something to monitor that you are excited to watch when the pads come on and everything starts for real? Chris, I'm going to start with you. What are you feeling about this?
O-line, D-line. That's all that matters once this comes on. Yep.
Specific player? You got a specific player you want to watch?
Braxton Jones.
Yep, that was my guy. Yep. I even saw him today without full pads on, kind of getting bull rush, and I'm like, all right, we need to see how he does versus how he does when the pads come on, and how he does versus the Bears' current best pass rusher.
We just got to get him going one-on-one with Gervon Dexter and just seeing who's going to be. I know that's not really the position that Gervon Dexter's going to be playing, but as far as handling a bull rush, that's
he's got to beat DeMarcus Walker first.
Yeah, well, may as well throw him in the damn deep end. Chris is right, though. It's offense and defensive line play. And for me, I am most excited about Gervon Dexter, trying to see, can he be, you said Akeem Hicks earlier, Luke. God, if you give me Akeem Hicks 2.0, I am ecstatic. And really, you have, the edge rusher is still an issue, but if you have middle pressure, if you get pressure up front, you're slowing down the run game. You're clogging up the offensive line. I think that's hugely important. And you've heard nice reports about Gervon Dexter so far, but you can't take anything really real until you see him with pads. That's my biggest excitement, please. I guess on offense, if I flip to the other side of the ball, I want to see Tyler Scott in action. I know DJ Moore's getting all the love, and of course, that's I want to see that too. But just like the interesting, intriguing, wild card pick for me, I want to see Tyler Scott. Have you seen our guy Greg Bragg's getting really excited about him on social media? I think that I want to see Tyler Scott. I want to see him working some underneath routes, seeing if he can, make a couple of 2, 3, 5, 7-yard receptions and turn them into 15, 25, 30-yard plays because of his speed.
Can't throw me under the bus like that, Joe. I've been excited about Tyler Scott since before we even drafted him.
Yeah, you've been on it,
guy.
and so I got yes, absolutely give you your credit there. You've been the leading Tyler Scott banner waver here on Believe in Monsters.
Yeah, we hope he can turn this. Go ahead, Chris.
Nope.
Go ahead, say it.
No, nothing. We had our chance for our own, very own Joe Gaither to be pulling some Greg Braggs type moments and being at camp and giving us straight reports about Tyler Scott.
See, the problem is Hallis Hall is 45 minutes away from downtown Chicago, at least.
How far away is Hallis Hall from Birmingham, Alabama?
And so once I got there and parked my car in the city, I was like, I'm not going to move this car because it's in a place that's not getting towed or ticketed. And so
that's why they have public transit there in good old Chicago.
Yeah, I use the L train quite a bit, but I didn't even look up what that public transit would be to get to Hallis Hall.
I bet you probably have to take it somewhere and then take an Uber straight to Hallis because I doubt they have a train going straight there. But I don't know. I don't go there, so what do I know?
Well, yeah, I have a few things to look out for, and then we can wrap this thing up. We're an hour into it. Chris, you hit it. Braxton Jones was kind of my number one. I really want to see how he does with the pads on. This is a huge year for him. I mean, the Bears can easily replace him next year with 2 first-round picks and a solid O-line draft. Obviously, I'm going to say both the tackles, him and Darnell Wright, interested to see how they do. We talked about the corners earlier. Obviously, I'm really intrigued by Tyreek Stevenson's aggressiveness in press coverage, etc. there. So excited to see that. And then number 3, this is when the running backs come to shine or not shine. So, especially guys like Roschon Johnson, he's probably not making a splash in 7-on-7 blocking air, but, how does he handle full pads on? How is he running? I'm sure it's going to be aggressive, crazy. The guys are fired up. We are excited for full pads. But other than that, I got nothing else to say. I think we covered a lot of ground in an hour.
Next week, are we having our friend Usaid Kashul join us to give us reports?
Yeah, he'll be bringing some live camp reports as long as he can make it. But we'll have him on next week. He'll have 2 weeks of info to share with us. Chris, you alluded to his writing. Do you know what website he is on right now?
247.
24/7 Sports.
Perfect. Yep, there's some great Bears content over there. He's on top of it all the time, so you should definitely shoot him a follow. Also, check out 247sports.com. They have some awesome Bears writers and the whole 9 yards there. So
that's going to do it for our show tonight. We'll talk to Usaid Kashul next week on Believe in Monsters podcast. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Make every play clear the way to victory. Oh, see, I'm all coded out. Bear down, Chicago Bears. Goodness gracious, you're gonna have to give me the line because I'm thinking I've got the whole lyrics all jumbled in my head. Bear down, Chicago Bears, make every play clear the way to victory. Bear down, Chicago Bears, put up a fight with the might so fearlessly. You'll never forget the way you thrill the nation with your T formation. Bear down, Chicago Bears, and let them know why you're wearing the crown. You're the pride and joy of Illinois, Chicago Bears. Bear down.